Hi guys, so we are going to go over in this lecture how to develop your thesis statements. What I've been seeing are a lot of vague arguments, so we're going to go over how to develop the specificity, like how to make them more specific, and also how to make the thesis statements also a little more complex. So the first example we're going to look at is one of an underdeveloped thesis statement, and the reason why I'm showing you an example of what not to do is so that you know what not to do. You know what it looks like. And we're also going to explain why, this thesis statement is not an ideal one for an essay. So the example we have here of an underdeveloped thesis statement is at the bottom. It reads, "Colors are significant to The Great Gatsby because they are essential to the novel's theme." So the first reason why this is underdeveloped is because it doesn't specify the literary device or element you're going to be analyzing in your essay. Yes, it states colors, but it doesn't specify which colors. And I'm asking you which colors are symbolic, right? That's what the prompt is asking you to state in your thesis statement. But this thesis statement just says colors. So I'm left with the question, what colors is this student writer going to be analyzing? A second reason why this is underdeveloped is because it just restates the prompt. In the prompt, I tell you actually, that colors are significant to The Great Gatsby because they are essential to the novel's theme. So this thesis statement here is just restating what I already know, but I want you to add to that conversation. I want you to actually make an argument as to why the colors are significant. What theme are they developing? The third reason why this is an underdeveloped thesis statement is because it doesn't specify a theme. Remember, a theme is a statement about a topic. In this example, all it says is novel's theme. But what theme are you going to be analyzing in your essay? So the main reason why this is an underdeveloped thesis statement is because it's extremely vague and it doesn't say anything more than what the prompt already says. In other words, there's no argument to it. The next thing that we're going to look at is an example of a somewhat developed thesis statement. This is a thesis statement that's in the works. It's on the right track, but it's not fully there yet, and we're going to be looking at why it's not fully there, and also what it's doing well. So the example of the somewhat developed thesis statement, that example again is at the bottom, and it reads, "The colors gray, black, and brown symbolize the dissatisfaction of the upper class and are significant to The Great Gatsby." So one of the reasons why this is a developed thesis statement to some extent is that it specifies the literary device or element the student is going to be analyzing in his or her essay. So again, the prompt already says that colors are important to The Great Gatsby, but this student specifies which colors he or she is going to be looking at, right? This student is arguing the colors gray, black, and brown have symbolic significance in The Great Gatsby. So that's great. Another thing that the student does well is it finds the common denominator between all these symbols. What I mean by that is that each of these colors are going to symbolize a very specific thing in The Great Gatsby, and the student will be specific about what each of these colors symbolize in his or her topic sentences. But in the thesis statement, this student broadly states the symbol that all of these colors, or the thing that all of these colors symbolize, which is the dissatisfaction of the upper class. So for instance, let's say instead of brown, I had the color pink, or this student had the color pink. And let's say pink did not symbolize the dissatisfaction of the upper class, but this student was saying, oh, pink symbolizes the satisfaction of the upper class. If I were to talk about gray, black, and pink, in one essay and try to fit this overall symbol, this overarching symbol for all colors, you can see that pink does not fit. On top of that, when I read this essay, it's going to seem a little out of place. The color pink is going to seem a little out of place unless I can make it fit. Unless I'm including pink for another reason other than the fact that it is a symbolic color, you want to find another color that fits with the categories of gray and black. If you have any questions about that common denominator, like finding the overarching symbol of all these colors or settings or possessions, please come see me and I can help you with that. One thing that, and a very important thing that this somewhat developed thesis statement is missing, is the theme. Right here at the very end, it just says these colors are significant to the Great Gatsby, but it doesn't state why. It doesn't state what theme that these colors are developing. Alright, so now we're going to be looking at a sufficiently developed thesis statement. So we're going to be looking at an example that fits all the criteria of what I'm looking for in a thesis. So we have a couple of examples of developed thesis statements on the slide. And you'll see the difference in sentence structure, and either one is fine. And we're going to, I'm going to read both of them to you, and I'm just going to talk through them briefly as to why they are developed. So the first example is right here, and it reads, Fitzgerald suggests that money cannot buy happiness, as the dissatisfaction of the upper class is symbolized through the colors gray, black, and brown. The second one reads, using the colors gray, black, and brown to symbolize the dissatisfaction of the upper class, Fitzgerald suggests that money cannot buy happiness. The reason why both of these thesis statements are developed is because they both specify the literary device or element the student will be looking at in the essay. So again, in this piece, the dissatisfaction of the upper class symbolized through the colors gray, black, and brown. And you also see that here. We went over on the previous slide why this meets the criteria for a developed thesis statement. The most important thing that both of these thesis statements have that the previous ones did not is the theme, right? And this theme is pretty simple. It's money cannot buy happiness. And you had that included in the sentence structure. What I hope you notice is that these sentences, they look pretty long, but these are not run-on sentences. This is the reason why we went over complex sentences, compound sentences, independent clauses, dependent clauses, is because when you start to develop more specific and complex thesis statements, you also need to elevate your sentence structure. You cannot just keep writing in simple sentences because then you're going to be stuck writing 3-sentence thesis statements, which are not allowed. All right, so the next lecture that you are going to be listening to and watching is actually focused on sentence structure and how to elevate your sentence structure to make sure you can convey a complex thesis statement. Alright, so on these next 3 slides, I just want to walk you step by step as to how these thesis statements were revised to become more developed and complex. And this is just kind of an overview of what was talked about in the previous slides, but just so you see it step by step, I want to go over it with you. So remember, the original thesis statement that we started out with is this one here. Colors are significant to The Great Gatsby because they are essential to the novel's theme. So how did we develop this to make it more specific? Well, we took it step by step. So the first thing we did was we actually wanted to specify the colors. And again, as I said, finding the common denominator, select colors that fall under the same kind of category, the same kind of symbol to help you develop a theme. So then after our first revision of this thesis statement, this is what we came up with. The colors gray, black, and brown symbolize the dissatisfaction of the upper class and are significant to The Great Gatsby. So again, the colors gray, black, and brown fall under this symbolic category of dissatisfaction of the upper class. So this is our first revision of the thesis statement, but it's still not perfect. So again, writing revision is a continuous process. So then how do we develop this even more? How do we make it a sufficient thesis statement? We need to specify a theme, right? So again, I just outlined here what's done well in that first revision. All these colors fall under the category dissatisfaction. And then I'm going to work with this overarching symbol of dissatisfaction, right? That all these colors very broadly symbolize dissatisfaction of the upper class to help me develop my theme. So to help me develop my theme, which again is a statement about a topic, I'm going to look at dissatisfaction as a topic. And I can be even more specific. Dissatisfaction among those who are very wealthy. Right? So I can ask myself, what is the text saying about wealthy people who are dissatisfied? Why are they dissatisfied? And this will help me to develop a theme. So then my second revision, and keep in mind this is the third time now I'm rewriting the thesis. Okay, so do not be afraid to revise your thesis statement. Do not be ashamed that you have to try, 5 times to get the perfect thesis. That's fine. That's what you're supposed to do. So here, again, I state the theme. Money cannot buy happiness. So let me just go through the checklist of why this thesis is a developed one and why it's sufficiently developed. First of all, I state the colors I'm going to analyze in the body paragraphs. I have gray, black, brown. I state the common denominator of those colors. What's the greater thing all 3 colors symbolize? I have that here. Dissatisfaction of the upper class. Good. And I just want to briefly go over the difference between this broad symbol and then the more specific symbols that you'll be getting at in your topic sentences. So very broadly, right, gray, black, and brown all fall under this category of dissatisfaction of the upper class. However, in my topic sentences, I don't want to just repeat this for each of my body paragraphs. For instance, I do not want to say gray symbolizes the dissatisfaction of the upper class, black symbolizes the dissatisfaction of the upper class, brown symbolizes the dissatisfaction of the upper class. This, again, is just a very broad statement of what all these colors symbolize. In my topic sentences, this is where I can be more specific about what each color symbolizes. So the example I have here is this. The color gray, which appears in the sky whenever a character extravagantly spends his or her money, symbolizes the loneliness of a life only filled with material riches. So I would actually argue you don't necessarily need this relative clause, the which appears in the sky whenever a character extravagantly spends his or her money. You can just say the color gray symbolizes the loneliness of a life only filled with material riches. Right? This is a supporting argument that supports this larger one, my thesis statement. So this is what I mean when I say in your topic sentences, you can be more specific about what the color symbolizes, versus in your thesis statement, you don't want to just say they're symbols, right? You want to state a broader category of what these colors symbolize. Again, if you need some clarification on this, or if you want to practice, just let me know. The last thing, the last reason why this thesis statement is developed is because a theme is stated, right? And again, we had that here. Money cannot buy happiness. So I hope this was helpful to you, just to see the process I took to develop a thesis statement and the explanations I gave as to why a thesis statement was developed or underdeveloped. If you have any further questions, shoot me an email, or again, you can come see me in the morning, during homeroom, or after school. If I'm not in the classroom, if the classroom door is closed, come find me in the English office.